Reading Music with 100 students. This is the pre-class lecture for our next unit, Unit 3, looking at the classic, the Romantic eras. The longest unit we'll have in this class. In keeping with the other pre-class lectures I've done, I want to use this opportunity to frame a couple of things, to set the scene, which we'll then look at in more detail in class. As we do go, do keep in mind these framing questions as well, ones that I've used in the past in other units, and they also apply to this unit that we're doing here. The scene. In looking at this period, this time period of roughly 1750 to about 1820, 1830, it was a time where we will see major changes in society, some an outgrowth of interest in science, and others through a questioning and eventually a revolt of the social order. So that the age of absolutism and the age of science that we saw in the Baroque era is replaced with the age of reason and revolution. It leads to a new way of thinking, which has been termed the Enlightenment. That is the pursuit of truth and the discovery of natural laws. That's the way Wright describes it in this text. Some of those qualities that help define the Enlightenment are here in front of you. That is, ideas clustered around reason, around nature, progress, and natural law. It brought on the belief in human control over a reasonable world. So, again, continuing this outgrowth of ideas that we've seen really since the Renaissance. One can see it in this idea of human control over a reasonable world in such gardens as this. Another one, the Versailles, the very famous palace outside of Paris. We can also see in this interest in reason and sort of discussion and exploration of natural laws and of human nature through something called the salon. A salon is a place of gathering of educated men and women for the exchange of conversation and ideas, something that was particular for the 17th and 18th century France. It was also a place for us where much music was shared. The idea of a salon is something that also continues today. Case in point, if you went to Stanford University site, you'd see the arcade, a digital salon at Stanford. A very important person to keep in mind during the Enlightenment was this person, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Rousseau was someone whose ideas helped articulate many of the issues that arose in a sense of combating abuses of a ruling class, that is, of a class that would rule absolutely, and a growing sense of the individual and individual rights. His Social Contract, that was published in 1762, serves as a good example of that. Keep in mind Bach's contract that we had looked at in the last unit, and spend some time. In fact, I would ask you to hit pause at this point and to read through these quotes that are taken from the Social Contract. I'll be interested in asking you in class what you gain from reading these quotes. What do you observe? What do you think is particularly noteworthy here? I also in class will be asking you about the new role of music that Wright talks about, specific to music's role now as entertainment. So do spend special time, concerted time in reading Wright about that so that we'll be able to talk about that in class. Another important thing about this period was that it was a time when Vienna became really sort of a pinnacle of the era, that is, of a cultural center, even to the point where, as Wright points out, this particular style of music was often termed a Viennese classical style. Now, it's not the only place where one found found cultivated music. I mean, there were court systems, there was a profusion of churches, and there were techniques that were, of course, not limited to this particular city of Vienna. But nonetheless, it was one of the most important times in Viennese history, musical history, as we'll see when we begin to get into the music of Mozart, of Haydn, and of Beethoven, and of Schubert, and more. So I will look forward to seeing you in class.